today we're going to learn the halacha if somebody is a tenant, if he's allowed to sublease his apartment, his house, or his property. So we learned already if somebody lives in the house, we spoke about it the previous shiur, if he's allowed to bring other people to live with him. That's we talk about. Now we talk about if you could sublease your lease. So in Choshen Mishpat Shin Tes Zayin, it brings the Lashon Rambam, word for word. Kosav Rambam Zal. A maskir bayis l'chaveira. Somebody renting a house to his friend, l'zman katzuf to a certain time. V'rotzo hasoicher laskir la'acherim, and the tenant wants to sublease it to others. Atzoy v'zman till the end of his period of his lease. Maskir la'acherim. You could do that according to the Rambam. He could sublease his apartment, his house to others, but that's condition over here. Kaminyan b'nei beisoy. If he has a family of 5 people, he could rent it to a family of 5 people. Aval him hem dalet. Okay, he spoke about 3 and 4. But B'kitzur, if hem dal le'eskir lechamisha. No, he says if there were 4, he cannot give it to 5. Meaning you cannot sublease it to more than people that you have right now. Yeah, now it's this whole thing. If somebody doesn't know this halach, what the Rambam writes, you could think it will know the simple and ashoel rashay lahashil and asoicher rashay lahaskir. So where are you coming from? Where the Rambam says that you're allowed to sublease it. So he says shelo amru chachamim zal and asoicher rashay lahaskir elam betaltelim shu omer lo en retzoni she pigdoini biyad acher. I'm giving you, let's say, a machinery. I'm renting you a car, a machinery that you cannot go and rent to somewhere else. Of a karka of a sfina, shara baleya imo and emrim ken. So, but if it's a boat or a karka, a mashma over here also, it's a house. The same thing would be. You don't say this kalal, so you're allowed to. So the Maggid Mishnah is medayik from this. That only which the heter of the Rambam that you could sublease it only if you are, let's say, the owner lives in one floor and the tenant lives in another floor. You're mamash there, so you could watch if something goes wrong. Something with the sfina, we're talking about the owner used to lease the boat as more as a service, but he was there with the boat. That you're going to watch if it's another tenant, another person you're subleasing it to, renting it to, the owner is there to watch. Should be no hezek. So, yeah. So according to this, it says the Maggid Mishnah, if you have a property, which is most properties are like this, you're not there, the owner is not there, so Rambam also moida that you're not going to sublease it. The Bach disagree with that, with the pshat of the Maggid Mishnah, and he says the Rambam does not speak, he says, about the karka at all. He says, Balei imo, it's only by sfina it goes. But he says, Adraba Bahim, Dafka, when you're not there, you could do it, because nothing annoying you, you're not there. But if you are there, he says, no, you cannot sublease it because you might be happy with one tenant, not with another one. It might annoy you, such a tenant. So anyway, Lamaisa, like I said, it's that the heter of the Rambam that you could sublease it. A lot of Rishonim agreeing with the Rambam, the Rosh, the Marami Rothenberg, but the Mordechai, he disagrees with him. He says, no, you cannot sublease a house, he says. Then he's like this, V'chenani Omer, Im Omar Balabais Lasoich, Loma Titrach V'taskir Beisi, according to the Rambam, and the Rosh, and the Marami Rothenberg. If you're allowed to sublease it, the tenant allowed. But what happens if the owner tells to the tenant, you want to sublease it, I see.
I don't think it's recording.
Okay, if you're telling, if the landlord tells the tenant, why you want to sublease it to someone else, if you don't want it, give it back to me. So then he says you have to give it back to him instead of giving to someone else. He says, because this is the right thing to do. Why, when he's the owner, why you want to give it to someone else? Okay, but that's, like I said, L'choira looks like the way the Archa Moshe summarizes halacha that a lot of Rishonim agreeing with the Rambam, but the Mordechai disagrees with him. He says you cannot sublease it to others. Now there's another problem over here. Over here from the Rambam Mashma you could sublease it. Yeah. What in the hill again the Choshen Mishpat Reish Yud Beis. The Rambam says like this: Maya hefresh ben koine soda lepereseo when asoicha soda mechavera. What's the difference if somebody buys a property? Those days it's take a field, not for he doesn't own the field. He bought the field for the fruits. He's gonna own the field after a year or 2 or 3, whatever is he bought the field just for the fruits. But when meaning
the contract says he only gets the fruits, he doesn't.
Right. So, but that's different between buying the field for the fruits or renting it. He says what's the difference between them? He says if you're buying the field for the fruits, not the field itself, you're just going to take the fruits from there. So you could do whatever you want with that field. Whenever you want to plant it, harvest it, it's yours. Or you could leave the land without doing anything. It's your land. But if you're renting a property, it says it's not the same. The tenant is not allowed to sublease. Rambam says over here in the Reshut base. Yes, va'koine makne la'acher kol mashekono. Mashenken, if I bought the field for the fruits, I could sell this right to someone else. I bought it; it's mine. I could sell it to someone else. So Rambam clearly contradicts himself. In Shin Tes Zayin, Rambam says you're allowed to sublease it. Yeah, he was at different details when what, but in Boifenkel there is possibility you could sublease it. In the Reshut base, Rambam said you cannot sublease it. So the Beis Yosef believes it in the Tzorich Iyun. However, the Ramot, Darchei Moshe, and the Bach, the answer, it says when the Rambam says that you cannot sublease it, talk about the same idea. The Rambam himself said if it's the same thing, 4 people over here, 4 people over there, you could sublease it. But if it's more people, Rambam also moided that you cannot sublease it. They talk about in the field also. If it's the same amount of people going to work in the field, one person, you could sell. But if you're going to bring me 5 people working in this field, I could say no. That's what the answer. Lamaisa like this. What would do Lamaisa with this halacha if somebody could sublease on it? Like this. Everybody maskim that we already mentioned this many times. There's 2 things could override all the halachas of this, all the machlekes of this. A minagamokim, everything, all the business deal done minagamokim. B, if you have a very clear contract that you specify, a clear contract overrides tnaihu, it overrides all the machlekes and halachas. We said you cannot, then you cannot. We're talking about when there was no contract, a vague contract. Then what's the halacha is? So Lamaisa, I think today you will not be able to sublease it, even according to the Rambam. Why? Because we're talking about in a place that said the owner could watch the place that shouldn't get ruined. Today the homes are no worse than metaltalin. The homes have so many people with a fancy kitchen, a fancy bathroom, a fancy sink. I says I was masking to you. The other guy might ruin my house, and like the Maggid Mishnah says over there, because the Ravad disagree with the Rambam, and the Ravad said some saying you cannot because you might ruin it. You might ruin the house, the property. Maggid Mishnah says, well, so what? You have to pay. He's going to pay for it. It's not so possible to collect if somebody ruins something, especially the homes today. Like I said, there's a lot. People are more careful with this. So it's assumption that minhag hamokim, and that's how people, even there was a vacant or no contract, or they don't mean to rent it to someone else. They want to know who's coming, who's going. They check the people. So definitely they're makbid. After the guy does halacha, if you walk to a shul, you don't have tefillin, you see a tefillin, it's not yours, you could use it because it says we assume that the person doesn't mind, he's happy you're doing mitzvah. If I'm not mistaken, the Shchai brings, or other poskim bring the same thing. If you know in a place they're makbid, that the people should not use. You cannot use this assumption because we have people makbid. They don't want people using their stuff. Something would be even a safer and different thing. Depends. It's all assumption of how things are. Today, definitely the minhag hamokim and assumption of people. If I rent you something, I don't want anybody else coming there, someone else coming there, because people are makbid. So you can't say there's no loss of it. It is a loss. If we're going by the assumption of people and the minhag hamokim, somebody that lists a property, he cannot sublist it without the knowledge of the owner.
Got it.